Yo, what's going on, everybody? Slice out from MaddenDaily.com, and this is Madden Tip Tuesday. In this tip, we're going to be breaking down the glitchy fullback dives from the Seattle Seahawks offensive playbooks. Reason why it's so good and different to other fullback dives in Madden 16 is the fullback is closer to the quarterback. As soon as he gets the ball, he's essentially at the line of scrimmage. Very hard to lose yards on this play, and great big play potential. Again, we're in the Seattle Seahawks offensive playbook. We're looking at their I form. You see they have H pro, H slot, H tight, H twin, tight pair. What it means by H is the fact that the fullback lines up closer to the quarterback than usual. All right, and also the fullback dives are a little bit different. They go more off tackle than usual, especially the one in the I form pro. That one is very fast. It has home run ability, but sometimes you get stuck on the lineman. Same thing with the twin pair. Very off tackle. It's hitting the C gap as opposed to the B or A gap. And then also you have the toss on the opposite side. So the twin pair is one of our favorites, especially because we like the passing plays in this set. But as far as the best overall, most consistent fullback dive in this I form from Seattle is the I form H tight. That's because it doesn't go as off tackle, but you still have the fullback lined up close to the QB. Plus, you have tight ends on both sides of the tackles, so you could run this to the right side and the left side. All you have to do is flick the right analog stick to the left if you want it to go left, flick it to the right to change it back to go to the right side. Now, it's going to be a fast fullback dive. If there's no one directly in the gap we're trying to hit, we're going to take off and we're off to the races. So if they're in pass defense, you can make your opponent pay. Again, here we're just doing random defenses, so sometimes it will be pass defense. Here you'll see it's a double A-gap defense. It's going to be tougher to just go straight up, and we're ready for that. So we're looking as soon as we hike to see if we can hit the gap. We're also looking to see if our opponent is hitting the same gap that we're hitting. Remember, this is a different fullback dive, so your opponent may try to hit A-gap. Meanwhile, this goes B-gap. So it's a little bit different that your opponent has to guard as far as user play. But we do want to show you one thing. Now, something great about this fullback dive is that if your opponent does hit the gap that we're trying to hit, or if we run into our lineman, or we run into their defensive lineman, what we like to do is spin back to the middle. So we're going to hold the left analog and then the spin button, which is circle or B on Xbox One, and that's going to spin us to the right if we're going initially to the left, and if we're going to the right, it would spin us back left. Now, this is great because, again, as mentioned, if they manually try to hit the gap we're hitting, we could spin to the inside. Or if we don't have the lane, like say we run into one of our linemen. This happens sometimes with these FB dives since they're so fast that we have nowhere to go going straight. So we're just going to spin back to the inside, and the spin is pretty quick. So it's an extremely fast handoff, and the fact that the fullback is so close to the QB that we're going to take off straight if we can. If we can't, we're going to spin back to the middle. Or once we get to the initial first level and we're breaking to the second level, we could spin outside. So once we get about 4 yards, if we want to spin, say eventually the safety is there to hit us, we could then spin to the outside by pressing the left analog stick to the outside. So whichever way you want to spin, you want to make sure you're controlling that left analog stick in that direction. So here we're spinning to the middle. This is a perfect example, by the way. We would run into our lineman in that case if we didn't spin. But we spinned into the A-gap, and we got a big gain. So when it looks like there's nothing to gain with this run, that's when we like to spin. Or if it's looking like we're going to get hit by a user tackle, that's when we like to spin. And you see the spin is extremely effective with this run. But we only use it if need be. If we don't have to spin, we're just going to take it straight up. Sometimes we'll cut to the right, which I'll show you in a few seconds. And then we also like to utilize motioning the running back to the left when running to the right. And then when running the fullback dive to the left, sometimes we motion the running back to the right. We would do the same with some passing setups that we may break down next week for Madden Tip Tuesday. But it makes your opponent not focus strictly on the fullback dive. All right, and we also have the Power O that we can run in this set. I'm pretty sure they have a dive too. And then if you're running the I-form twin type pair, the toss is extremely effective to the right because we have 2 tight ends on the right side. So no matter which I-form you use, this fullback dive is extremely glitchy. Now, the only thing I didn't mention yet is breaking it all the way off tackle. Now, you can't always do this, but sometimes if you notice that you do have the lane to that right C gap or left C gap, depending on which way you run, and depending on how your opponent is defending this. Like, say they were on that right linebacker and they tried to loop into the middle, we would break it all the way outside, and then we could double juke or keep going outside for a big gain. Then the very next play, we would just spin. It's very hard to stop, okay? But because of the spin, it's forcing your opponent to, like, say they're on the strong safety, they're going to run up the A gap. They're going to run to the B gap. So when we see that, we're going to try to cut to the outside. Now, a great way to do this, sometimes it's hard to just straight go off tackle. What we like to do in certain situations, depending on the defense our opponent's in, is we will double juke to the outside. To double juke, we're going to press the right analog stick left and then right analog stick right to go in and out, okay? And that's going to make us start off going towards the B gap, then we're going to go left, right, and that is when no one really is to the right side, especially when they're controlling someone from the right side, let's say a safety, and they're trying to get in that B gap or A gap to manually stop the FB dive for a loss of yards. If they're playing real aggressive with the FB dive and there's not that many people to the outside, that's when we would utilize the double juke, okay? But if we don't need it, we won't take it. We could go straight, we could spin inside, double juke outside. It all depends. I would definitely advise you going into practice mode with this run and just doing random defenses to get used to when to go straight, when to spin. Very, very effective. And that's why we wanted to share it with you guys. For anyone that uses the Seattle Seahawks offensive playbook, or any Seahawks fans that want to use the playbook, or say you get stuck with it in Draft Champions, it's just something to look at, something to add to your scheme. There's some pretty good passing plays from these I-forms as well. So if you want to use an I-form offense with fullback dives, tosses, dives, and all of that jazz, this is a good playbook to use, and it's different. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, smash that like button. We're going to be back breaking down passing plays from these I-forms next week. And if you can't wait for more deadly Madden 16 tips, check out our website, MaddenDaily.com. We break down nothing but the best Madden 16 premium tips every single week. Till next time, it's lights. Later.